CQ. This is Mike Zero, Alpha Uniform Golf, from my home station on the far coast in West Lancashire, calling CQ for all members and friends of the Pennine HaM digital myth. And not many of us on this evening, and I've made also a decision, and there's quite a few people on Tom who normally get involved with photographs, that it's okay with those who are on, that we send the photographs over for next week. I hope that's okay with everybody. Right, I'll go to the top of the list, and I'll go to G4JBA. I'll go to see you connected there, Jim. Are you staying on the net this evening or going on to YouTube? Over to you. Good evening. Nothing heard from G4JBA, so I'm assuming that Jim, you'll be on the YouTube channel rather than coming onto the net. Good to have you on though, as always. Over to you, Lou. GHJJ in the group, M0AUG.
M0AUG in the group, GAKJJ. Yes, very good evening, Jeff, and a very good evening to everyone else on the net this evening. The WX in Nottingham, it's been a very nice day, full sun, a little wind, but only 11 degrees Celsius. But it was very nice in a sheltered, sunny position, and I did manage to get into the garden and do a bit of gardening. The HF band conditions for me have been weak. There's been plenty of stations to work on FT8, including DX. The best DX on 17 meters was VK3BAC and S21WD, which is a DX expedition to Bangladesh. I think they're on a very small island. It's very exposed, I think, because it's very low lying. So if they get some storms, they might get a bit wet. I also, during the week, worked another station through the ISS, which was very pleasing, but I have worked in before, but nevertheless, still a pleasing thing to do. Anyway, back to you, Jeff. There's a little bit more from me on the next over. M0AUG and the group GAKJJ.
GAKJJ, the group M0AUG returning. Yes, you got some good results there, and well done on that, and obviously through the satellite as well. That's good. I spent quite a bit of time over the last weekend on the contest, and as most people know, my station is basically MST991A, and the only antenna I like to put up is an HS120A. But nevertheless, I achieved a lot of satisfaction out of it. I enjoyed doing that, and finished up with about 201 contacts, including quite a few to South America, Paraguay, etc. So I can't complain with the limited resource on that one. So that's how we are. I enjoy what I do with it. So on to Northern Germany now, and Mike and Adriana. DL1BJW with DL8BGT in the group. M0AUG. Over to you, Mike. Good evening.
Good evening from Delta Lima 1 Bravo Juliet Whiskey, and happy to hear you all. We are okay over here. WX is a little bit spooky. It has been about 10 degrees centigrade at noontime. Nighttime drops down to a little bit above zero. And there was no sun the whole day. Was raining quite a little bit. But now in the evening, the clouds separate, and there's still some light coming through, so there's hope, HI. Yesterday was a very interesting talk on Zoom. We enjoyed that. It was very interesting, very special, and very good in performance. So everything okay over there. Congrats to Lou, to your excellent results in the SSB contest there, WPX, especially reaching Australia. That's really amazing. Very good. I did something in the contest also, but nothing so spectacular. Nevertheless, there was Argentina and Brazil, Uruguay, Colombia, St. Kitts and Nevis in the Caribbean, and Suriname in the northern part of South America. So it's mainly South America. But one station I reached also was a new one for me on SSB. It was Zambia in Southern Africa, and I was very glad about that. So far from my side for this over, passing the microphone to Delta Lima 8 Bravo Delta Tango.
Yes, very good evening to all of you. This is Delta Lima 8 Bravo Delta Tango for the group. Yesterday was a very, very interesting talk, and it's always good to hear, to get new inspirations for CW, especially the fact that it's not necessary to copy any sign exactly to get into the flow, and this was a quite good hint, I think. So I'll try it again to listen to CW and not to concentrate on any word. So perhaps I'll get into the flow in listening to and copying larger text. Might be so. During the last weekend, I also took part on the contest, in the SSB contest, using my Zygo G90 and the end-fed half-wave outside the house. And it was quite interesting. During the first overs, I actually got stations in Europe, but then there was an opening into the southwestern direction, and I have got 2 stations in Brazil. And the most far station was near Sao Paulo, about 10,000 kilometers away from here, with only 20 watts. This was quite nice, and yes, the conditions are not so good as they have been during the last year, but there is hope. So this is from my side for the first over. I hand the microphone back to M0 AUG for the group.
Delete the BTT with the old BJW in the group M0AG today. Yes, fine enough. I think we've all experienced some of the problems with the SSB contest. There were some good paths there, but the biggest thing that I noted was the lack of the regular stations coming in from the US and Canada. Absolutely nothing at all. But the few that I managed to work, it was a struggle to work them. But also some of the regular ones and the big boys weren't even figuring it all. I didn't feel anything. So that just tells you what the conditions were like on there. And well good on me. Was it Zambia that you mentioned there? I've never worked that one at all. That's a nice one, Mike. Over to you there, Bob. M4 XL for Tango in the group. M0AG, good evening. And good afternoon. Zero AUG with the group, November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango. Good evening to you. And it's an hour later for you today. So there you go. Finally, you caught up with us. The weather here is just the opposite of what it should be. It was warmer this morning when I came into the shack than it is now. We're having a cool down. Currently, it's 7 degrees Celsius. We do expect a little warmer tomorrow, but then again, we expect another cool down on Monday. Again, just the opposite of what we were hoping for at the beginning of April. The last night's presentation was extremely interesting, and I agreed with everything that was presented. As a matter of fact, one of the points that they made was the 12 words a minute bit. And when I was teaching, we discovered the same thing, that you start them off with about 12 words a minute. And then you get them past that, and once they get, say, 90% of that at 12 words a minute, then you increase the speed, and we used to increase it to 18 after that, and build up from there. But I found the whole presentation, I agreed. I don't think I disagreed with anything that was said last evening. So it was a very interesting presentation. Band-wise here, it hasn't been as good for me. Been a lot of QSB recently, and I'm hearing fewer stations than I normally do. As a matter of fact, this morning I went on to FTA just to fill up my log a bit, and I think I made 5 contacts on FTA. They weren't all parks on the air, but I made 5 contacts. I think that probably the most distance was Cuba, but that's fine with me. But that's about it from here. As I say, the signals here haven't been as strong as they were in the past, and there's more QSB I've noticed recently. And Adriana, you're correct. Don't worry about if you miss a letter in the middle of a word or two. Don't worry about it, because if you get the beginning and the end of the word, you're going to know what that word is anyway. So don't hesitate just because you miss a da or a da. You keep going on, and eventually you'll know the whole sentence, or you'll know enough of the sentence to make sense out of it. I guess that comes. The more you listen, the more you learn to do that, I would presume. Nothing else important here, so back to you, Jeff. M0 AUG with the group, November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango. November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango with the group, M0 AUG returning. Yes, fine on that ball, and I don't do CW, and it was interesting. I enjoyed the time very much last night. And the point that everybody's making that you don't need to necessarily pick up all the characters in a word, because if you get the rest of it down on the paper, the chances are you'll know what the word is. And it's always difficult to do that, because I find that you tend to sit on one particular thing that you're struggling with, and then you miss the next 2 characters. But good presentation, though. It really was a good presentation. So over to you there, Nick. G4IW in the group. M0AUG, good evening.
M0AUG in the group from G4IWO. Yeah, thank you very much, Jeff, and good evening as well to not just those on the net, but those who are watching the live stream on YouTube. I've been checking the audio, which seems to be very good this week. First of all, just start with the WX here. It's been sunny most of the day, but not terribly warm. There's been a cold wind, and the temperature, although the thermometer was reading about 8 degrees, was more like 2 or 3 degrees. It actually felt like when you were outside. We're due some heavy storm weather this weekend. One of the storms is hitting the northwest of England this evening, at the weekend, and there are some very high gusts of winds forecast. Where I live, we're expecting winds of 50 to 60 miles an hour. I don't know where Jeff is. They could potentially be a bit higher than that if it's coming in from the Atlantic. So that's the WX. On on the bands, I've done a little bit of operating this week. We've got some of the family with us this evening and some more coming over the weekend. So it's been a busy house. But Lou, I'm with you. I got my contact in with Sierra 21 Alpha Delta earlier in the week, I think on Wednesday on 20 meters on CW. Absolutely super CW operator who was operating. I think his operating speed was over 40 words a minute, but very copyable. And of course, when just following the talk last night, which I thought was great, and more about that in a second. Um, when you hear very fast Morse code, because you are listening for a pattern of sound when you're doing Morse code, as Mike was saying in the meeting last night, you're listening for that pattern, so you immediately recognize your call sign coming back, so you know you're being called, and you immediately recognize signal reports on the whole DX context are 599 both ways, but not always. But it very quickly stands out um, what's going on there. And I was really pleased to see Howard again. It was in the early days of Long Island CW Club when Howard came and gave his original talk when we were part of Denby Dale Radio Club. And it's astonishing to see how that club has grown in the last 6 or 7 years to the size it is now. I don't think he could have forecast that at the time, but what an incredibly impressive operation that they're running for what is effectively a local radio club. Congratulations once again to them for all the work they do, and in particular, I was absolutely taken in with the detailed research that Mike M1CC had done on the theory of learning Morse code and going back to some of the original German texts by Koch, and then looking at some of the other writings on CW over the years and looking at the theory behind it. And I think he's done an absolutely fantastic job in coming up with a method which was working for them for sure, but makes common sense as well. So a very impressive amount of work that Mike there has done. And when you consider, by the way, I think Mike is now retired, but he was an airline pilot, so a very different job from the job that he's doing in the Long Island CW Club on CW. I don't expect there's many airlines with any CW transmission capabilities nowadays. But no, it was a great meeting. I could tell that people were enjoying it by some, not just the comments, but people's expressions on their faces during the meeting, and the fact that after the meeting, quite a little group of people stayed behind chatting, not necessarily about that, but about other things radio related, but clearly inspired by the talk we had. So that was really good, very pleasing indeed. And I've sent some thanks both through to Mike and to Howard today, as has Rachel as well. And it was lovely to see our Rachel M1AYG getting thanked by them for the contributions that she's made to the Long Island CW Club since she took part there. The only other thing of note, I haven't been on VHF other than listening to the space station ISS contact a few days ago with my next door, two of my next door neighbours joining in with me outside, where I'd taken the handheld radio out with me to listen to it, and they were absolutely spellbound listening to the astronauts talking. And then I was struck by watching the launch of the astronauts that are going for the fly around the moon over the next few days, and also the live shots from the, I was going to call it their shack, but their living quarters and operating quarters on the spacecraft for the next few days. And the one thing that struck me was, and I can remember this as a much younger person in the 1970s, What really struck in the 60s, what really struck me was just how advanced our technology is now to what it was then. If you think what was available technology-wise, it was nothing like any of the technology we've got nowadays, particularly the computing technology and all the range of information that they've now got at their fingertips on that spacecraft. And so it makes you wonder not so much how they're doing it now, but how on earth did they fly those missions in the 1960s and 1970s? So that's for me, and I'll pass the microphone back to you, Jeff. M0 AUG in the group, G4IWO.
G4IWO in the group, M0 AUG Jerry. Yeah, that was interesting there, Nick. I didn't realise it was as long ago as you mentioned when we had the first presentation from the Long Island Club with Denville. Time doesn't half pass. And your last comments on the IT and the way IT's progressed. I remember when I was working in IT in the mid-80s, I guess, in terms of storage capacity and transferring things from our sister company in Holland to the one in England, we were using 8-inch floppy disks. Can you rate that? 8-inch floppy disks. And today we can stick it onto an SD card. And that's an example of what you're talking about. It's fantastic how the technology advanced. Okay, back over to the top of the list now. Now, over to you there, Lou, please. JKJJ in the group, M0AUG.
Yeah, M0 AUG in the group, JKJJ. Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And yeah, that's interesting. I haven't seen the presentation as yet, but I will have a look at that at the weekend if I get the time. I think I might get the time because it's going to rain, isn't it? But as you all know, I don't do Morse. I don't do CW, although I did start learning in the late 50s. And of course, after that, I went to college, and then things just, as far as amateur radio was concerned, things went into the background. But yeah, it's something that I've always thought of doing. Made a start and then not continued. I've still got I forget the name of the amateur that wrote the course. It's called the rhythm method. It's a series of records that you put on the record player and you learn them all through his method. But yeah, interesting. And I did notice at the weekend, earlier in the week, was it yesterday? Nick was putting on a little video about the ISS experience that he was having, and that was great, very good. Well done to Anna, 20 watts into South America. That's very, very good indeed. Excellent. Most of my week has been spent trying different satellite software to use with the new rig. The packages I've tried, G-Predict, that's quite a reasonable package, but very hard to set up. It uses the terminal. You've got to set up all the cat control in the terminal, and that makes it a bit complicated. You could do a batch file and automate it, but that I decided that was not for me. SAP PC32 was very good. I did look at Skyroof, but I decided SAP PC32 was the choice, and I installed that, and it works really well. I'm very pleased with it. What else have I got here? The only problem I've got is at the moment, it's working well with the rig, and it's very easy to control things. But eventually, I want to use it with the WSJTX and Log4OM, and I've got a feeling that that's going to be quite difficult. I may need a virtual audio cable or something like that to split the USB audio. Anyway, I think that's all I've got for the moment, so I'll pass it back to Jeff. M0 AUG in the group, GAKJJ.
GAKJJ in the group, M0 AUG setting. Yep, your experience on the CW very much to mine, Lou. I've tried many times over the years and have a go at it and made a start and carried on for a certain time and then came to nothing at the end of the day. But I must admit, some of the points that we came across in the talk last night, I don't know whether I want to have another go or not, but I'm going to review the talk again on the YouTube channel and then make a decision from there. But it was a brilliant talk, it really was. And yeah. Over to you again, Mike and Andrew on the DL1 PJW here with the late BDT M0 AUG. Over to you, Mike.
Delta Lima 1 Bravo Juliet Whiskey. Some words on WSJTX, or especially FT8 and FT2. I've been experimenting further with FT2, which is a very quick mode, very rapid signals. But I have to say, the more I do experimenting with it, the more I'm convinced that's not really my kind of mode. It's much too quick, much too fast, and it's really a little bit hectic. But I've seen regarding the reception reports there that it is not quite so difficult to be heard outside of Europe as I imagined, because I read some weeks ago that it would be necessary to be heard with better than -10 dB, and obviously that's not always the case. I've been heard in Malaysia and in Chile with worse signal than -10, and they listed me, but I couldn't work them. I worked Brazil, on the other hand, in FT2, and that gave me quite a good signal, which was there, I have to admit, below -7, I think, -10, I think it was -7. But so it's a little bit different from time to time, and regarding the propagation, it seems to be to play a big role how the actual propagation is at this moment when you're transmitting. Regarding FT8, I've been hunting after some expeditions, and I took quite a long time, unless Nick and I think there was another one who also said that he reached it was Lou, I think, S21 Mike Delta from Bangladesh. I couldn't work them on CW. I heard them on one band, but I couldn't work them. And the same was the case with CY0S Sable Island from east of Canada. No possibility for me to work it in CW and in SSB as well, of course. But I could work both of them after quite a long period of trying with the FT8 system. And that seemed not to be a problem, especially as I was doing that with loft antennas, so with indoor antennas. But nevertheless, it went through quite without difficulty. But the difficulty was, of course, the very, very huge pileup. And I had several tries there over 30 minutes or even more until I got through. But nevertheless, CY0S and S21 Mike Delta and FT8 was a success in the end, and so it's very good. I'm satisfied with that. Okay, so far from my side, Delta Lima 8 Bravo Delta Tango is taking over now.
Yeah, this is Delta Lima 8 Bravo Delta Tango for the group. Yes, radio-wise, I can't report much more from my side, but there are some projects on the line. I decided to tidy up my box with parts and so on, and I have got one project. I want to build a dummy load for QRP 50 ohm dummy load, which I got as a present from Mike, and then yes, I'll try to fiddle out some things which are on the line in my box there. So I hope when the weather is not so good during the following days, there will be time to solder a little bit. These are the projects I have here in mind. And with these informations, I hand the microphone back to M0AG for the group.
DL8 BDT with DL1 BAJW. Okay, fine from you both there. I've never actually done anything with any of the ST modes at all. You know, something that certainly John in the Oldham Club, Chief CSO, and a friend of mine over here have been trying to encourage me to get involved with. But time has been of the essence, and I'm hoping that after sort of the middle of this year, I'm hoping to fully retire, and I hope that gives me a bit more time to do some of the other things I want to do without a radio there. And restricted on the antennas, and we can't use an antenna in the loft for the simple reason that the way our residential home is built, it's built with a steel roof, so that wouldn't work too well on that one. So we'll see how it goes as the year goes on. And just to acknowledge Keith joining us, GM4JKZ, I'll bring you in after Nick there, Keith. Good evening to you. Over to you there, Bob, and 4X13 in the group, M0AG. M0AG with the group number 4X Alpha Tango. First of all, you people that would like to learn CW after last night's presentation, I would certainly recommend that you look at Long Island CW presentations, because the way they're doing it, I think, is excellent, and I'm sure that they could get you where you could copy fairly reasonably. Normally on this round I give you my code update. Well, I don't have too much to report because a couple of reasons. First of all, I haven't heard as many stations. Second of all, there are fewer new stations for me. As of this morning, I have 3,444, and I believe that I didn't get any so far today, any new ones today. I have made a few POTUS contacts, but I don't think there were any of them were new. Of course, this week I did get that new Tier 4 contact. There are two stations that I work almost daily, and that's one of them. So that gives me 47 awards now total with that new Tier 4. I held my standing this week. I have not improved it. I'm still 681 worldwide, so that's not bad. My FT8 figures have gone up to 310, so that's going for, yeah, FT8. No, yeah, FT8 310 FT8, and I have 1,777 SSB signals now with parts. Now they're not all initial contacts; they could be repeats, but that's the total number of contacts that I have in those two modes, and I have 11,182 in CW for a total POTA contacts of 13,269. That was this morning, so by the end of the day it'll be probably 280 or so. That's about all I have from here today. Small group today to get aboard. Back to you, Jeff, and like I say, all you fellows that want to learn CW, look at that Long Island club because they really know how to do it. Back to you, Jeff. And for XXT in the group M0AGJ. Yes, fine, I'm back on my ball. I'm glad that you're still in the same league on the quarter table there with your position in the league there. Just for Keith's benefit, we're not doing pictures this week, Keith. I'll leave it over to next week. Obviously, we're a bit down on numbers in the group as well. Jeff's not with us. Nick's got some house guests as well. So, we're going to be probably keeping the net a bit shorter this week. And we'll skip the pictures and take them next time round. And that's all about with you if you did have a picture. I'm assuming that you're back up in the borders. I'll come to you in a few minutes after Nick. G4IWO in the group, M0AG.
AUG in the group from G4IWO. Yeah, some interesting comments by people there, and I will be intrigued if people do have another look at CW and decide that it's worth exploring. Certainly, if we're now coming out of the solar maximum, as we probably are, and conditions start to go down a bit on HF over the next few years, what I found in the periods out of solar maximums is that the best opportunity of working DX for me was always CW. Of course, that's now been surpassed by FT8, and FT8, of course, just takes DX contest or DX contacts to a completely new level. And on that, I was very interested, Mike, in your comments about trying out FT2, where I kind of looked at that and I thought, goodness me, you know, is that really a contact? I mean, obviously it is, and it's almost like using Whisper, but getting a confirmation that you've made the journey. But I can understand your observation, Mike, that maybe it's not kind of the radio you wanted. And to Lou, I've got a set of those records. It was G3HSC, Hotel Sierra Charlie, who lived, if I remember rightly, in London, South London, who produced those 3 records that accompanied some paperwork that, as you say, he described as the rhythm method of learning. And going to the technology, Jeff, your comment about the early days of computing. I guess, you know, as a young lad, I was interested in my dad's stories because he had worked in the early days of computing developments in the 50s and 60s and 70s in Britain and America. And in fact, he told me, and I wish, you know, when you look back in time, I just know how daft I was, you know, 10 years ago, not sitting down with him and getting a recorder and getting some of his memories written down, because he told me he was the project manager for the first computer built in Britain around a chip, and it was a 64 kilobyte chip, 64 kilobytes. So it was tiny in comparison to, you know, any computer that we're using nowadays, a single chip. So technology has just moved on at an extraordinary level in the last 50 years, and of course is still moving on at a pace as well. So quite where it's all going to take us is an interesting thought to have. Meanwhile, I think those of us that enjoy radio and enjoy the benefits that we've found from linking computers to radios, because many radios, of course, are now built around the SDR design where effectively it's a small computer inside the radio that's doing a lot of the, we're doing all of the audio processing rather than the old superhet designs we had on the original shortwave radios. But nevertheless, we take for granted what we're able to do nowadays. And of course, none of this was available 50 years ago when those original Apollo launches took place and the original landings on the moon. And when you just think about it, you just wonder, you know, just how on earth did they manage to do what they did with the limitations of technology available to both the crews on the spacecraft and the mission control part of it as well. It's very, we can see it, can't we? We can see in amateur radio the developments that have taken place. So I'm going completely off topic there, but I think watching that space launch this morning that took place last night just reminded me of all those thoughts. We have got some fantastic meetings coming up in the club. Absolutely great, I think. Some really, really good speakers. Our next one in 2 weeks' time is Frank, Kilo 4 Fox Mike Hotel, K4FMH, who we know has given some very interesting talks, particularly on the work he's done on propagation and a statistical analysis of the solar cycle. But he has done some work on antennas for portable operation and come up with a number of designs, none of which I would say um, and they're not brand new designs in the sense that someone else hasn't made something a bit similar. But what Frank's done is have a good thought about portable working and how these could work in a portable environment and how they could be made to be much smaller and lighter to enable people to carry them around easily. And some of these have been written up in Practical Wireless. So he's going to give us a talk about all of these. I think there's about 10 or 11 different antennas, and he's just going to give us a quick run through of some of the ideas that he's had there. So very much looking forward to that. And then looking forward onwards, I'm not going to steal any thunder, but we've got some really, really good talks on a whole range of subjects. And we're going to have to go down to a few meetings where instead of we've fallen into a fortnightly cycle, we're going to go down to weekly for at least 2 or 3 weeks, just because of the number of people who wanted to come and speak at the club when I asked them if they were available, and all of them wanting to speak at a similar kind of time for various personal reasons. I guess we're approaching the summer period and people do go away over the summer period. I made the decision, executive decision, which I know my fellow club officers haven't disagreed with, but I made the executive decision we might run a few weekly meetings to get in some of these extra talks. So back to you, Jeff. M0, are you during the group? G4IWO.
G4IWO in the group M0AG today. Yes, thanks for the update on the talks, and it's good that we've got so many people that you've been able to gather together who do want to come and talk to the club. Just back on computers for a minute, it's a continuation from the 8-inch floppy disks. In the early 80s, I was working with the oil companies, working with service station level, where we were involved in getting the information that comes from the petrol pump into the back office onto a microcomputer. And that was a challenge in itself with the different technologies there. So we were working with people like Edicom and the tool manufacturers and what have you. And we then developed a computer program to run the accounts that linked in with this to give people management information on the running of the business. And the first computers that we were able to use for that was a brand called K-Pro, and they were portable PCs, which the American soldiers used to use in Vietnam. They were more like loggable, really, where you clicked off the keyboard, and that was a little green screen underneath it. And I look back now and think, what a fascinating time that was, trying to develop all this and seeing it develop from there. So that's my little bit anyway. Over to you, Keith. GM4 JKZ in the group. M0AUG. Good evening, Keith.
M0AUG in the group, GM4JKZ. Yes, good evening, one and all. Sorry for late on parade. I will take 10 circuits round the courtyard after. Oh, yeah, just on computing. It was interesting. Back in the early 80s, I was working in an electronic repair centre in Brighton, and we ordered from BT Research Station up in Martlesham a computer panel, which came in Eurocards, and plugged into a rack, and we had to physically solder every component on the 10 boards. We split the job up between us. There were about 9 of us working on it, and at the end of the day, we managed to program it using ones and zeros on 8 switches, and we ended up playing blackjack, which was quite interesting on a screen. But talking about the Apollo side of things, there is a guy called Curious Mark, M-A-R-C, has a YouTube channel, and what he's managed to do over the years, he has acquired all of the Apollo, or most of the Apollo computing equipment, etc. He's up to Apollo Comms Part 39 now, rebuilding the digital data demodulator, but he actually started off getting the original computer, one of the original computers that were built for Apollo 11. And he got that working, so if you're interested, there's a 4th AP atomic clock repair video. It's absolutely fascinating to watch it, and I do suggest if you do want to watch it from 1 onwards, but don't binge watch because you'll get starry-eyed. But it's amazing character, amazing what he's been able to do. And talking about computing, we learned in a training school on an old radio station, and we were using RML 380Z computers to drive trains around the track. That was our job, learning the programming, was to operate the signals, operate the points. And teams of 2, I was in the team that it ran beautifully, and our finale was to crash the 2 trains into each other. So we got black looks from the tutors there, but enough of that. Okay, well, no pictures, that's fine. I was struggling tonight. I'm late on parade because we had a late dinner. And yeah, the LICW, yeah, I'm going to sign up for it. I just need to have a look at the calendar because, bearing in mind it's Eastern Standard Time, they're 5 hours behind us. So if there's a session at 8 o'clock in the 8 o'clock their time in the afternoon or the evening, of course that's going to be 1 o'clock in the morning for us over here. So I just need to see how they're going to pan out, but I'm certainly going to sign up most assuredly. And radio-wise, worked a few good lessons on Monday afternoon. A lot of them down into South America, Ecuador, Argentina, Brazil, etc. And I've worked one new country as well, which was Bangladesh at long last, 21 IM. So quite pleased to get that one in the log at long last. And remember, the EA RISI is coming up this weekend, so there we go. And last night's talk was absolutely superb, I thought, absolutely superb. So about to Jeff, M0AUG with the group GM4JKZ.
GM4JKZ in the group M0AUG returning. Yeah, I know we've drifted a little bit off topics, but what interesting topics are coming out from the past and well, all our history, isn't it, really? And good evening to those on the YouTube channel. I'm not actually sure whether Jim is on the YouTube channel or he's listening on this because he's connected to the net as well. But I put a call out earlier on and he didn't respond, so I was assuming Jim was probably picking it up on the YouTube channel. Yeah, computing and so on, it's amazing, isn't it, where it's all come from. And personally, I've been very pleased to have been in the age when we were developing all these things. Right. Back over to the top of the list now. We're probably in the other small group and no pictures, probably getting very final, I would suggest. So over to you there, Lou. G8KJJ in the group, M0AG.
M0AUG and the group GAKJJ. Yes, thanks, Jeff. And first of all, FT2, Mike. That must come with version 3.0 of WSJTX. I haven't got that. I've still got the 2.7 version. I think the latest version, the one that you must be using, is a beta, because I don't think it's out in its full glory at the moment. Anyway, it's something I might look into. But FT2 sounds a bit hectic. And Nick, you're quite right. G3 HCS rhythm method of learning Morse. Well, I've still got the records. They still work. But I don't think at my age that I'm going to try something like that. I think my brain would be addled within 5 minutes. And as you remarked, it is a great achievement that the Apollo moon landing 1969 was achieved with the old technology. Bearing in mind that the integrated circuit wasn't designed until wasn't created until 1959, and the computers in the Apollo machines were pretty crude, but they still managed it. It really a great achievement. I was actually traveling around the States in 1969 for that landing, and every time I was in a motel, I would watch the TV coverage of the moon landing. It was a very, very interesting time. Anything else? Yeah, just thanks to Jeff for hosting the net, and it's been very enjoyable again this week. And we'll look forward to next week's net. So 73s to everyone, and all the best, and we'll see you again next week. M0 AUG and the group G8KJJ.
G8KJJ, M0 AUG. Yes, I remember seeing the moon landing as well. We were in a social club that evening, and they had a television in the souk room, I think, and we were all standing around watching the landing from there. So, yeah, that's how long I go back as well. Okay, then, Mike and Adrian, for your finals, please. And DL1 BJW with DL8 BQT in the group, M0 AUG. Over to you, Mike.
Delta Lima 1 Bravo Juliet Whiskey. First of all, I'm looking forward very much to the oncoming talks on the club's Zoom meetings, as Nick described. That sounds very promising. Thumbs up. And Lou, you're quite right. I'm using FT2 with a beta version, which is, I think, the improved WSJTX 3.0, or is it even 3.1? I'm not quite sure about that, but it's the latest so-called improved version, and you see and you feel that it is beta because there are quite a few bugs in it. But nevertheless, it's working, and okay. It has to be a little bit improved one looks forward to it getting better, so to speak. Regarding the Artemis and the Apollo missions in spacecraft there, I remembered that 7 years ago we had a visitor here, or visitors, or who we had become acquainted with via DStar, and that was an American amateur radio operator from Georgia, and his wife, and their son, who was at this time, I think, in his mid-20s. And they were on a tour through Europe, and we met here at our home and spent 2 days with them. Was very interesting. And as a present for us, the son, who was working with NASA at this time, brought us commemorative medal from NASA, which consisted of material which had been in one of the Apollo spaceships which circled the moon. And this, he said, and this reminded me as I heard the news today, that the astronauts on this actual meeting, on this actual mission, would be on the farthest point to Earth, which had been reached until now. That this piece of metal, had been on the backside of the moon, so to speak, when the capsule surrounded the moon. So it was the farthest point from Earth where, at this time, human beings had been. So this is quite interesting medal, and we still got it in our shack at the wall. Okay. So thank you very much to all of you for your company and interesting thoughts. There were not so many people on board this time, but nevertheless was very interesting, and time flies by. 60 minutes have gone by very quickly. So thank you for all your good thoughts and ideas and your company. And of course, Jeff, thank you very much for doing a very good job again as host of this meeting. So wishing you all the very best, a very good Easter weekend coming up, and yeah, looking forward to meeting you next week. So 73 from Delta Lima 1 Bravo Juliet Whiskey, passing the microphone to Delta Lima 8 Bravo Delta Tango.
Yeah, this is Delta Lima 8 Bravo Delta Tango for the group. Yes, thank you for this interesting evening, and thank you for your company. It was as informative and nice as always. And yes, during the last over, we came one thing in mind, which I wanted to ask perhaps Nick. At the moment, we are thinking about putting solar cells onto the roof, or solar panels on the top of our roof. There will be a consultant who will come during the next weeks and will tell us some things about the installation and the cost and so on and so on. But one thing which he can't tell us, I think, is the problem if there will be problems with the HF conditions, especially with the antennas. I think the antennas inside the house, under the roof, it's a little bit problematic. About the others, I don't know. And therefore, my question to Nick, perhaps you have someone who might be able to tell us in a talk some things about solar panels and amateur radio. Perhaps there might be things which have to be known if one puts such things and the capacitors and so on into the house concerning amateur radio stations and the antenna system. So if there is someone, it might be interesting, I think, for many of us because of the momentary situation in the energy sector and the crisis. Many people might be interested in solar panels and so on. So this is a thought which came late evening, but it came. So thank you to all of you 73 and 88 from Northern Germany. Happy Easter. Handing the microphone back to M0AUG for the group. And thank you, Jeff, for hosting the net.
BDT with the L1 BJW in the group. Thanks both of you for your contributions this evening, and look forward to catching up again next week. The only comments I've heard about solar panels on roofs is that I think one or two people have come unstuck by taking contracts with the people for solar panels, etc. And then because they were tied into a contract with the solar panel people feeding back into the main electricity, they had trouble selling their properties. That's the only thing that I've heard. So there we are. That's nothing to do with radio really, but just something that I've heard. Thanks again for joining us, Mark and Adrian, and look forward to catching up with you next week. Over to you there, Bob. I'm just acknowledging that we've got Ralph in there. Obviously, Ralph, you probably follow the change of the time clocks there. I will come into you at the end once we just gone down the rest of the list. And obviously we are in the process of closing this evening. Another 4X Alpha Tango in the group, M0AUG. M0AUG with group, November 4 X3 Alpha Tango. First of all, from what I understand, there's been quite an improvement in solar panels. They now have got filtering on. Originally, they caused quite a bit of interference with amateur radio, but I think most of that has been corrected by now. Next, for Apollo 11, I was in Cyprus, and I found the whole flight and landing very, very interesting. After I got out of the Navy, I installed 2 Data General 1 mainframes. And after I installed the second one, a law firm hired me to become their IT specialist. And that all worked out fine until Windows for Workgroups came along. And Windows for Workgroups sort of did away with the mainframes. And for you, Jeff, Bernoulli disk. Does that ring a bell to you? Sure it does. Thank you for joining the net, and also I look forward to these weekly meetings. So it'll be something to do on Wednesday afternoons. Hi. Back to you, Jeff. M0AUG with the group, N4XAT, and Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Yeah, either one. How about Happy Easter to everyone? In the group. Thank you there, Bob, and thank you for your greetings, and always good to have you on this group. You're very, very much a part of it, like a lot of our other regulars. And happy Easter to you and yours, and look forward to catching up with you next week. And maybe some more reminiscences of the older computer days, who we know. Okay, I'm going to go in the order of the group, but going out of step, so that they can get back to his guests. So G4IWO in the group, M0AUG. Do you want to go with your finals, Nick, please?
In the group from G4IWO. Yeah, thank you very much, Jeff, and fascinating net, and it's very strange, isn't it, how things grab your attention and you think about them. No immediate person springs to mind, Adriana, but I've made a note of it, and I'm going to have a look on that, because we're going to have the launch in the UK very soon of the panels, the portable panels, which have been on sale, I know, in Europe and particularly in Germany for a little while now. And I've noticed on one or two of the forums in the UK, there are radio amateurs expressing concern about whether the plug-in panels would interfere with their HF radio or VHF radio experiences. So definitely something for us to investigate, and I think as been said already, you know, the initial work did cause some problems, and you know it was poorly designed systems, particularly the inverters, obviously changing the voltages that were causing some transmissions that were interfering with some HF radio. But there are very few comments made regularly, and I'm now going to trawl back. We have a column in the RSGB magazine Ragcom, which deals with the kind of technical aspects of EMC and problems of interference from various bits of equipment. And I'm going to have a trawl back through that and see what the latest writings are, and who we could perhaps get to come and give us a talk about that. So that's in my notebook to follow up, Adriana. But I think generally what's been said is actually right. I think the chances of interference nowadays are very small, but it's definitely, even if you've got a company and the guy doesn't really know much about amateur radio, you could ask that person and they'll know someone in their company who has come across this before. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next meeting with Frank, K4FMH, and we do have some really interesting talks. We've got our first one actually coming up from two Italian radio amateurs who write absolutely beautiful English, but said that they're slightly anxious that their English could collapse in the meeting. So we're going to try and find a way around that. And I did promise that we've got a number of our members in the club, particularly those from other parts of Western Europe and not the UK, apart from our Ken, of course, who have got some fluency in other languages. And I know, Adriana, you're one of those, of course, as you speak on this net every week along with Mike and with Jeff. And I'm quite sure we'll have someone who'll be able to help out these two guys when they give their talk on a development of an antenna, which is, instead of going for one of these like the Sotabeams produced, the little link antennas, they've developed a link antenna but with switching that you control from the shack, so you can control plugging in those links automatically to change bands. So that'll be interesting. So on that note, I'm going to wish everyone a very good evening. I'm going to leave this on while I just go and say hello to our guest behind me here, and I'll come back and shut down the stream. So my apologies to anyone listening on the live stream. When Jeff pulls the plug, I won't necessarily have pulled the plug here, but I will come and do so. So back to you, Jeff, and thank you again, of course, for your sharing, and thank you everyone for the great contributions this evening. M0, AUG in the group, G4IWO.
G4IWO in the group, M0, AUG. Fine on that, Nick, and hope you enjoy your family weekend, especially and happy Easter to you all. And thanks for the updates. It sounds like we've got some good stuff coming up. And of course, a week on Sunday, we'll be together at the Norbrec Rally. So, cheers for now, Nick, and best wishes to the family. Over to you for your final, Keith. GM4JKZ in the group, M0AUG.
M0AUG in the group, GM4JKZ. Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And yeah, just to add, you were in a snooker room during the moon landing. So was I. I was in the snooker room of the local telephone club down in Brighton, watching that, and it was absolutely amazing. Mike, very jealous that you've had something that's been the far side of the moon. That's well worth keeping and had to future offspring, etc. And I think you must be running 3.1 WSJTX. I'm running 3.0, the improved Plus edition, and it doesn't have FT2 on it. Or I'm missing something, perhaps, I'm not sure. Solar panels, Adriano, the only specification I had, we had ours installed, must be, 4 or 5 years ago now. And we bought ours, we didn't go through any, because quite rightly that could cause problems on resale. The only specification I asked or insisted on was that instead of running we got 12 running them in a loop, I insisted that they run a twisted pair as a single line, and that should resolve a lot of the interference from those particular panels. But I'm pretty sure that the newer ones are much better. That twisted pair directive came from an American reference, and I think the RSGB on their website has got a copy of that document, so it's probably worth having a look on the RSGB website for that. If not, let me know. I'll turn it off and put it on WhatsApp. And I've just put off topic. I put a note on WhatsApp of the Apollo guidance systems from Curious Mark. I've sent the link in there. Absolutely fascinating if you're into those sort of things. So with that, have a very happy Easter. Don't work too hard. Don't eat chocolate. And thanks, Jeff, once again for running the net. My apologies for it also. M0AUG of the group, GM4JKZ.
GM4JKZ in the group, M0AUG. Yes, fine and that, Keith, and great to have you back up on where you live, rather than us both getting confused with the call signs, etc. So thanks for your contribution this evening. Not many on, but I think it's been a good net as well. And we've shared quite a bit of information between all the friends here as well. So thanks for joining. Okay, over to you there, Alf. I'm sorry you missed the start of the meeting. It can only be just down to the time with the British summertime there. Over to you for any comments. Hope you enjoyed the net. KA5ULE in the group, M0AUG.
M0AUG, KA5ULE in the net. Well, my apologies for being late. I was on a service call. Had a friend that had an issue with a dryer, so I had to go out and troubleshoot it, and it ran over the part of the net, but that's fine. I knew you guys were still around, so really enjoyed the nets. I've enjoyed the YouTube channel, and really proud to be a good member of this good group here. So anyway, I'm about destinated, fixing to get home, and then the wife want to go out and get some Easter groceries so that we can have a nice Easter meal on Sunday. So we're going to say 73 to everybody. One last thing I was going to mention too. I'm working on my pedestrian mobile setup, just about ready to try it out. So you may hear me on one of the HF bands pedestrian mobile, just about ready to try it out. 73 everybody, have a great Easter. We'll be back here now. Try not to schedule a job right after this meeting. Back to net, M0AUG. Okay.
KA5ULE in the group, M0AUG returning. Yeah, thanks for being a member of the club and the group there, Ralph, and the best wishes to you and the family for Easter. And yeah, the time has moved forward to 1930 BST, which is UTC +1. That's the time of the net now until we get to September time. Glad you enjoyed the net from the listening in point of view, and thanks for your contribution at the end there. So with that, thank you for everybody who's been on the net this evening. It's been a nice, good fun with this, wasn't it? And thanks to everybody for taking their part in that. This is M0EG now closing the Pennine HaM, sorry for the slip-up, the Pennine HaM digital net for another week, and I look forward to catching with you all next Thursday. And everybody have a good Easter. M0EG, off and clear, 7-3.
GM4JKZ, if you're still there, Adriana, I've just posted the solar panel document from the RSCB website onto WhatsApp. GM4JKZ.
GM4JKZ, M0EG. Thanks for that, Keith.
M0AUG